So, okay, now we're recording.
Perfect. So is there a lot to do for us?
Except, wait a second. I thought I just saw Jason, but now I don't see him.
That happened earlier too. I noticed he joined and then he left and then he joined again.
Oh, okay. So maybe he's just having some
difficulty.
Okay. Anyways, sorry. No, I'm not from Arizona. I've been here quite some time. I've been here for 16 years now, but I'm not from here.
Where are you from?
From Portland, Oregon.
I'm going there in February.
You are?
Yeah.
Have you been there before?
No, but I look at it all the time and it's so beautiful.
It is. It's super green. Hi, Jason. Can you hear us? We can't hear you yet. Or I can't.
Mm-mm.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Oh, he's gone again.
All right. Well, I actually, I don't have a plan for us for today, only because I was just looking over everything thinking we're supposed to talk for 60 minutes, but did you have any ideas about sort of where we should begin or what we might?
You guys
Hey, heard that.
There we go.
Yay!
Awesome. Excellent. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good.
How's Vegas?
It's good. This hotel Wi-Fi is a little spotty, but not too bad. Yeah, but it should be good. I think we're connected now, so
okay.
Yeah, it's super fun.
Good.
Cool.
Good.
Well, we were just talking about where we thought we should start in terms of what we should cover even tonight.
Yeah. What were you guys thinking?
Well, I didn't have any strong recommendations. I'm going to go ahead with that.
Right. Yeah. Hang on just a sec here.
Have you guys had a chance to go over all of the reading yet?
A little bit, yeah. I spent a little bit of time. So we are essentially okay. So obviously, I was mixing up, by the way, my groups earlier, which we had talked about. This is our meeting for OGL 360, right? Just to get this straight. Okay, yes, just to get that straight.
Are you also in 355?
I think so. I think it is 355 is the other one.
Okay, I'm in that one too.
Which is like between the two of those. Yeah, I'm in 355. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like to start, I was so confused. I'm like, wait, what is what? Like, yeah. But I think I got it down. Okay, yeah. Absolutely had a little bit of time to go over some of the reading. So this is the co-mentoring is what we're working on right now. Hang on, let me see here. I'm just getting a little skim over the module itself.
Yeah, I was just looking at that myself too. I was actually just looking at the syllabus.
Yeah.
Basically what we're supposed to be doing is write a paragraph reflection. You must write a paragraph about the experience with the team, including a brief assessment of the level of preparedness, team dynamics, how enjoyable it was, a few reflections of the actual material you discussed.
Yeah.
So I'm sure we should just probably discuss the material that's in those first two chapters that we've been focused on.
Absolutely.
And there's a couple prompts too on the, it's not an agenda, but it comes from the actual co-mentoring meeting, like assignment from module 1.
Yeah.
And it has 3 different prompts. So please speak about concerns about being a leader. What are some ways that bosses are successful and not effective? And then about Malala.
Yeah.
That's right.
So I guess that we can just go over those.
Yeah, absolutely.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
By the way, were you guys familiar with Malala before this?
Honestly, okay, I was not. watching those videos, that was the first time. So she won, because I did a little research on her, and so she won the Nobel Peace Prize, I want to say 2 to 3 years ago is when that took place, right? Maybe 2016, I might be a little bit wrong on that, is when that took place.
Yeah, it was pretty recent.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think it wasn't like 2018 or 2019, I know.
It was 2014.
14, okay. So about 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I was honestly not familiar with her before that.
Her website, I don't know if you guys looked at the website for the foundation. That was incredible to see what she is doing now. I mean, she's studying at Cambridge, right? I believe it was Cambridge, philosophy. And it's so amazing to think of someone who has gone through something like that and fighting for education in general to be at this most prestigious educational facility now is just the way it should be, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Especially based off her roots and her upbringing. Yeah, very much so. It's incredible for sure.
And it's so fascinating to me. One of the points that really resonated with me was when she spoke about how this was really a mission for her father as well, because it really wasn't a celebrated, it really celebrated in her culture to be having a baby girl, right? It wasn't the same as having a baby boy, but the father was just determined to make sure that wasn't going to be the case for his daughter. That was really moving to me. And obviously that leadership component is in her DNA.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it was good to just view her too as in the aspect of just as much of her leadership, just like I definitely took a lot of attention to when she was giving her speech about it was her speech when she was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize, and just talking about as much as like she would reflect back on the fact that she was, as much as she has done a lot of these great things especially for children's education and women's education, she was still like, I'm still a human. I still fight with my brothers. I'm still like that humanistic aspect, which was really, really, refreshing to see that. Cause I think when we look at that, it kind of seems like you're watching it. If you were to watch that video initially, and if she's not saying that, you just think this is someone who is above, but just to see the relatable humanistic aspect of that was really, definitely enjoyed that.
Yeah, any like women's empowerment conference or anything like that you go to now, she's featured. Like she's always going to make an appearance.
Yeah,
cool.
Incredible. It's so cool. It's so funny because tonight I was working on this English language arts project with my 14-year-old, and it was about the argument of whether or not 16-year-olds should have the right to vote. And my son said, look at Malala, Mom, or look at Greta, who's fighting for the environment. Like, shouldn't they be able to vote? I feel like they know more than we do. And I was like, okay, my work is done. I am the best mom ever.
That's funny.
But you're right. Like, that's the piece of it, I think, that is so beautiful, is how she has become this voice for women, for girls, for even the boys, right? A 14-year-old boy in the 8th grade knows exactly who she is and what she means to this humanity. Yeah,
because like you're saying, it's not that she's just a voice for women, but just children in general, and that opens up to just boys and girls, like the whole, so she is an absolute influence, like across the whole spectrum of
I want to read her book. I think it'd be really nice to read.
I know. Well, and I think that there was a documentary that came out not too long ago, like on Netflix or some very, easily subscribable. Oh, I don't know if you guys know this or not. That's right. We were going to watch it this weekend. There's a subscription that you can get with your ASU account to something called Canopy.
Okay.
I will send you guys the link, but it's really neat because it's all documentaries, and there's documentaries in there about leadership. There was a documentary I watched with my sons that was called the masks we wear, which is about, what we're doing to boys and masculinity in our society. But Malala's documentary is in there. I'm going to watch it with my boys. I'll send you the link.
Ooh, yeah.
Because it's free to us as students.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, I'll make sure to send you the link for that.
Yeah. Great. That'd be great. Daniela, what was that first prompt that you had mentioned about?
It is, so there's three, well, two, yeah. I guess. We had, Malala was just, let's think about Malala. But number one is, please speak about your own concerns, fears, or misgivings about becoming a better leader.
Are either of you in leadership roles right now in your current jobs?
Yes, essentially. I don't know how many, so I work with Starbucks. Is anyone here else with that? Is anyone in that vein?
No.
Okay, gotcha. So I don't know if you know about that, but the reason I'm actually doing ASU online is because that's a program that Starbucks offers as a free benefit. So I've spent 2.5 years, I was in and out of college, and then started working at Starbucks, and then eventually Starbucks rolled out the whole program where you can finish if you have not received your bachelor's, you can finish your 4-year degree for free through doing ASU online. So that's the reasoning that I'm here. But yes, I am very much so myself in a leadership role. I'm actually an assistant store manager at Starbucks. So and in my store, and it's not every store, but our store manager tends to be out of the store a lot, so I take on a lot of duties of running a lot of the day-to-day, functions of the store. So yes, very much so, in a leadership position.
Have you already seen some changes in how you approach leadership with the classes you've taken?
Yeah, I think I'm a little bit more, I feel like the best thing to say would be I'm a little bit more open-minded approach to leadership. I used to be a little bit more before that, a little bit more just one kind of mindset of being like, well, this has to work. This should work. This should be for everybody. This should be universal, that everyone's going to respond to this kind of leadership, which I've discovered, that's not the case. Like, we have so many differing personalities. You're working with, I work with 25 different people, and so you have a diverse amount of personality, which means that everybody accepts, takes criticism, but also, takes compliments and such. Everyone's different in that regard. So I think that was something I really had to learn for myself, was the idea that not everybody's the same. And so, I feel like, and we've probably all experienced, we're all organizational leadership majors, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I think at this point, I think we've all, have had enough courses that definitely highlight the fact that, that there's just not one specific way to lead. But to be an effective leader, you have to be able to be dynamic, diverse, be able to cater to a multitude of different, once again, personalities and such. So, and I think that has very much so helped me excel, and even allowed me to do a little bit of self-reflection in moments when I think I'm not being as, I could be more effective with this specific individual as a leader. So yeah, I think the reflection on these courses has definitely helped.
And Daniela, you're not currently in a leadership position, but have you been in one before?
Before, yeah. Currently I'm not, but I actually was just writing about this in a different paper, that I'm learning so much from my current supervisor. So I feel like it's not like a leading time, it's a learning time for me, just where I am in my career. So taking these classes and then having her as my real life example, it's definitely brought me out of my shell. I feel a lot more confident. So it's been good. I'm actually waiting to hear back about an interview. So that would actually put me in a leadership position. So I'll let you guys know, because I should know next week.
Exciting.
Excellent.
What?
Yeah. I'm sorry?
Do you want to talk about it at all?
It's basically like a team lead. So the job is essentially the same, but I would just have, I think, more responsibility, I guess, and more responsibility for others, which I currently have zero responsibility for anybody else but myself. So it's going to be an adjustment. But like I said, I've had, and this is kind of dumb, don't judge me, but a lot of my leadership experience actually comes from my sorority. So there's been, a lot of learning that I've done that way, just working with all girls, working with the same age. And I think those are things that I'll have to adapt to as well. Working with people from different ages, different backgrounds, different education levels. Because right now I'm kind of in a little bubble, but hopefully I'll be stepping out of that soon.
What a great place to get your feet wet, right? Isn't that the point of that system? The Greek system is to build these relationships and to be able to test these things out on each other with a comfort that you just aren't going to find anywhere else.
Yeah, and sometimes it's a little like, well, you're just trying to get these girls to get to a meeting, but you can easily translate that to a workplace. So it's definitely a good place to learn, I think.
Well, leadership is very much so multifaceted.
True.
The whole idea. And so, yeah, you're going to find leadership at all levels. You see leadership in, like you said, in a sorority, in the whole Greek system, there's leadership. There's leadership in professional sports.
Yeah.
You're going to find it everywhere. So I don't think you could ever say that that's, a stupid example. Because I mean, those qualities like of being in a sorority, like you can very much take that and run with it. Like there is very much educational qualities and learning as a leader in being in a Greek system. So yeah, by all means, I think that is a lot of validation for being like very valuable leadership experience.
Yeah. It's really cool to see like where I used to be leadership wise and where I am now. Like, wow, these practicing and learning about it really does give you some experience.
Absolutely.
For sure. For sure.
And Dawn, where are you at?
Well, I'm a professional fundraiser, but I worked independently as an independent consultant. And I'll tell you, I mean, leadership for me has been most challenging in trying to lead volunteers. That has been really where I have had to work in ways that I don't apply in any other leadership areas of my life, because you're working with these people that you really need to motivate them from just working to accomplish the work, right? It has to be this altruistic, I want to do it because it feels good, or it's going to do something for someone else, but they don't get paid, right? I mean, it seems like it's harder to get them to want to commit in the same way somebody would if they were receiving a salary or some kind of financial compensation.
Right.
Yeah.
So that must be tough.
It can be, and it also is. It's really fascinating because I feel like I really have to focus on knowing the people, which can be really rewarding for me too, to build relationships with other people that are coming to this place of, let me be here because I have good intentions, good intentions of heart. That's why I'm here. Like it's pretty special, especially in the climate that we're dealing with right now in terms of society and politics. I mean, it's nice to see people's humanity come out in a way that I don't know how else to sort of pull that out of people unless it's for these reasons.
Yeah, and it's people that are really willing.
Exactly. But at the same time, in terms of leadership, I think that these courses, and this one in particular for me, really are showing me that I need to make sure that I don't just wear one leadership style. I have to approach it different based on my client, which is, sometimes a volunteer, sometimes it's a board member, sometimes it's the person that's paying me, I feel like I've had to really focus on which approach is which and which one applies where and what mood am I in, and how bought in am I to the philosophy and the mission, instead of just taking a job to take a job.
Right. It's one thing to know the leadership styles that we've learned, but it's another thing to put it in practice and understand, is this what I'm doing? Is this the leadership style I'm using in this situation? So like, and I found that for myself and I agree with you wholeheartedly, is just knowing, like being aware of when to use that kind of leadership style, and if I am using it, identifying it as this.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a worry or something that's gnawing at me in terms of leadership, but I am so much more curious about finding a way to know whether or not I'm doing it right for the client group, or the followers, I should say, without having it be a meltdown, kind of, the temperature check. How about that? I mean, in fundraising, it's easy to do, and I'm sure both of you experience this. Are we bringing in the money? Yes or no? Okay, well, check. Yeah. I'm doing something right? If it is moving in the right direction. But most of the time, I find that I need to make an adjustment to my leadership style when there's an explosion.
Yeah.
I am trying so hard to find those ways to ward off or better plan for these eruptions that are absolutely inevitable, so that it doesn't feel so derailing.
Yeah.
Especially for me, because it's project-based, it's very much a time restraint as well. And so sometimes when I lose the followers, or something happens that feels like it's a negative, or, oh no, what are we going to do? There's no time to be derailed like that. I need to be able to pivot more quickly.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. You have to be able to, the whole idea of being able to be quick on your feet, be able to understand what I need to switch to, because sometimes time is something you don't have.
Yeah.
You have to be able to make those snap decisions. So
totally.
Yeah, and that could be the difference between failure and success. So yeah, by all means.
That's what I think I'm most excited about in learning in these courses, is those, exercises of, okay, when these things happen that we haven't experienced before, or they seem really monumental, what are some of the ways to sort of quickly pivot, or to temperature check, or to breathe some life back into it, or confidence, whatever it is that's missing. I'm anxious to learn more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So what's our second prompt we had there?
Second prompt was, in what ways do some leaders seem successful at pleasing bosses yet not effective?
This is under the modules, right?
It's where we're going to be submitting the link.
Yeah, under the co-mentoring meetings, right? That module.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Because I actually hadn't had it pulled up, so I actually want to read these too.
Yeah, I should have. I can do a split screen and pull it up too.
Unless. Oh, cool! I didn't know that.
Yeah, let me pull it up here, and I should have thought that through. Sorry, guys.
Oh, absolutely.
That's okay.
This is our first meeting. Nothing's.
Yeah, it's week one.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and I'm so glad that this works for you guys, because what I'll do is we'll just keep setting up these Zoom meetings.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I can go to here, and I'm gonna.
And we're supposed to be meeting once a week, right?
I think so.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So we kind of talked about trying to, like, as much as we can, consistency. You two are you two both like Mountain Time, or you both are Mountain Time? Okay. And so I'm the 1 Eastern Time. typically,
So
except for I'm out in time for this week because I'm in Vegas, but typically I am Eastern time, so I'm 3 hours ahead of you guys on a regular basis.
So my best day is Thursday, so I can literally do any time on Thursday. I don't know if
Facebook for you, Jason.
What was that? Honestly, for me, I do tend to work pretty early. And when I say pretty early, that means I'm up at 3:30 a.m.
Oh my gosh.
but Thursday is absolutely fine for me. But I would say even if we did 7, we're talking that's 10 p.m. for me. I mean, maybe. I mean, so 5 or 6 p.m. would work for you, Daniela, right?
Yeah, any time I'm off.
But what about you? But what about you, Dawn? We have to.
Yeah, totally, I can make that work, no problem.
I mean, ideally, somewhere like 5 or 6. 5 or 6 would be because we are under the typically what, like about an hour we're averaging probably on these meetings, right?
Yeah, I think so. Like today's is 60 minutes, so an hour.
Yeah. So like at 5 or 6, that puts me at, if we did say 5, that puts me at 9 p.m. when we wrap this up. If we did 6, that puts me at 10, which I don't have any problem with that. Even if I worked earlier. So, I mean, ideally maybe 5 or 6 would be better on Thursday versus maybe 7 that we're doing tonight, which is absolutely fine right now, once again, because I'm on the same time zone as you guys. So, but that's just for this week. So.
Yeah, I mean, 5 if that's better for you, if it's earlier.
5, 4, 3. So that's 2 p.m. for you guys.
Or, well, I meant 5 for us, and then that would be 7 for you.
No. Yeah. You're right. You're absolutely right. Yep. Yes. So, such a struggle when you're dealing with
time zones.
All these time zones. Yeah. Okay. So 5 for you guys. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we'll do 5 p.m. Arizona time. Okay.
Yeah. Get that nailed down. Okay. And that's good for everybody, right? One more time. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
And then I can send out the Zoom link again. No problem.
Okay. Cool.
Oh, thank you.
Can you guys see my screen?
Can. Yes.
Oh, awesome. Okay. So that works. I thought I could do like a different kind of split screen, but I didn't set it up that way in the beginning, but at least this
works. And you're the tech genius.
Well,
yeah,
definitely do not say that, and don't count on it ever like this again. Okay, so then
are the prompts under actually the co-mentoring instructions? Is that where it's at, under the PDF there?
Here, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, that one.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, this should work still.
Mm-hmm.
Can you guys see it now?
Can't actually. I mean, if you can't get it to do that, we can probably all, I think, individually pull it up. I'm sure it won't be an issue.
Oh, that's so weird.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, you know what? I think I got it here. No. Okay.
Yeah, like I said, it shouldn't be an issue if we all individually do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
Thank you for trying.
I was all excited, but as soon as we went to the download, it's like not having it.
Yeah. Good intentions, though.
Okay, and this is totally my doing. I did not even like pour over this as well as I should have.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's anything that
I actually haven't pulled. I honestly have not pulled this download, but this is Danielle. This is where you pulled those prompts from. Is this?
There it is.
Okay. Yep. In what ways? I see it right now. In what ways do some leaders seem successful at pleasing bosses, yet not effective according to the definitions above? I mean, we can take a couple minutes just individually to.
Right, thinking along these lines. Success and effectiveness need to be at odds. In fact, it is wonderful to work in teams where the two concepts go hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's so funny because I'm also doing the project management course.
Oh, uh-huh.
Yeah.
320, I think it is. Have you done that?
Yeah.
I've done it, yes. That was actually, that course was one of the more unique ones I think I've had in regards to well, who is your professor with that?
Dr. Chandler.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. I did that. I did that this summer. And yeah, that one was like one of the more unconventional ones I think I've done in regards to what all these other courses have been.
Well, I'm really enjoying it, and actually, what's funny to me is how much it weaves in and out of this course that we're in together, because I keep having these same conversations about, for example, success and effectiveness, or you know, that whole concept of you work on a project to produce something, and the assumption is that is going to be successful once you've produced the something, right? But the reality of it is that that's not exactly what would define the success, especially for someone like myself who, I mean, for me, being able to fundraise for a particular campaign is really important, and it definitely is cause for me to say, okay, I was successful at that. But the truth of the matter is if it's something that needs to be done year after year after year, if I haven't set them up and be able to do that again next year, then I can't consider that a successful campaign.
Yeah.
I was working with a school. We needed to raise $500,000. Well, we did that, but I literally have no idea how they're going to do that again. I just don't know.
Yeah.
And so for me, that doesn't feel successful, because part of stewardship is to build these people, you know, this database of people who want to continually support the organization. But that's sometimes difficult to do because people don't always have the same kind of money they did in the moment that they gave it, or whatever the example would be. And so success is sort of a not clearly defined item.
Yeah, absolutely. So based off the second prompt, by the way, I was doing a little bit deeper on here. So they actually want us to give 2 or 3 examples from fiction, TV, film, or your own experience. So that is actually, I didn't see that under there. So that goes a little deeper, a little more specific, I think, on what they're looking for. And right off the top of my head, looking at that, an example from let's just say film. I think anywhere you would look in if you're looking at an antagonist-protagonist kind of setup in a film, and you're looking at someone who is in a leadership position but is trying to play exactly what 1.2 defines, I think maybe you're going to find that in, like I said, in an antagonist-protagonist kind of setup. Maybe a protagonist leader has been put in a position, so it's kind of tricky, but I feel like maybe in if you're looking in, say, maybe a superhero movie where you have your villain, and then there's always you have the main antagonist, right? The main bad person, and then they have their people who are carrying out the wishes of the antagonist. You'll see sometimes where they may have done something it's a hard example, but I feel like they've done something to affect the protagonist, but maybe it seems that they've done their work, but in the overall overarching outcome, it's not successful. And we said many times, I think that's a very interesting take on this question to pull from fiction, more your own experiences. So that's just I think that's very broad what I just gave there. But I think if anyone was to watch a movie that has an antagonist protagonist kind of stuff, which is a lot of the dynamic of a film, you'll see that once again a antagonist may do something on the lines of something that may seem successful. We've all heard the concept of, well, we won the battle, but did we win the war? So you might see something they were successful in that moment, but overall it was not effective in the overall outcome of the overarching scheme of everything. So does anyone maybe have an example of their own experience of when they've seen a leader be successful at pleasing a boss, but maybe not effective?
It is a hard example.
Mm-hmm.
Successful at pleasing bosses, yet not effective.
I mean, we do see, and not to jump right back in here, but I guess that's what I'm doing. But to see, we often hear in business that it's about pleasing the stakeholders. So if you're in a major Fortune 500 company, for example, a lot of times you'll see businesses make moves, leaders in business make moves to please the shareholders. So in some ways, especially in a capitalistic America that we live in, shareholders in some ways act as kind of the bosses. They're the people. Sometimes a lot of it's they're the reason your business is successful. They're there because they've invested in your company. They continue to invest in your company. But there may be times when you are pleasing these people, but then also maybe you're not being effective in regards to being ethical. We've all had, I think some of the early OGL courses hit on ethics, right? We've all had some courses on ethics. So maybe, you might look in that regard to you may be pleasing these shareholders, like once again, who may be acting as kind of your bosses, your shareholders, but you're not being effective as in being a company that's running being ethical, doing the right things. And so I feel like that could be this is not a known experience per se of mine, but I think it's experiences that I've seen even in even in the news. We hear about companies and ethics issues that happen. And so it is kind of our experience because we get to digest the news. We get to we can read about it. So it is kind of our own experiences of being about that and learning about it. So yeah, I think being ethics could be a way effective, but maybe pleasing shareholders at least in that regard.
I was reading an article like 2 days ago about a makeup brand that I use, Sunday Riley, and they were falsifying profits. They were falsifying I guess information that would please the stakeholders, but the company looks unethical now. So yeah, I guess that's yeah.
Yeah, that actually happened with Volkswagen a few years back. If anyone remembered that, it was a matter of, so we have our emission standards for like CO2 and the environment, right. And so VW was doing a thing where they were basically falsifying numbers of saying that their cars were making this X amount of emissions, when in reality the number was far higher than that. So they were falsifying that information, and thus, they took a big hit in the time frame. That was maybe 2 to 3 years ago. We saw that happen, and in that time, it pleased shareholders by all means in that moment, because you're telling the people that I've made this great car. It also has it passes emissions and then some. It might be affordable, whatever the case is. And that's in that moment. That's a lot of companies. There is that central focus of pleasing those shareholders. So that is an idea of pleasing, but maybe not being actually effective. So
yeah.
And I didn't do a very good job of articulating this, but what I was trying to say is this has definitely been my experience where, I think when I'm working with a board of trustees and we accomplish the goal, that definitely pleases them, obviously, but it's when they have a need for this to keep happening and I don't know how to establish that.
Yeah. Yep.
It's really difficult because I could do it once doesn't mean we can do it more.
Yeah. Well, do you feel like you struggle maybe fully grasping why you were successful the first time? Like if I was to ask you, why exactly were you successful? What made your first campaign of that round? What were the reasons that made it successful? Or, maybe you might be like, well, I'm not 100% sure of all the factors that came together to make it successful. sometimes, by chance things come together and they work.
Right.
And, but then like you said, you're like, I don't know if I'm going to try to repeat that same thing.
Right.
Am I relying on just things, the planets aligning again and it all works out? Or because you probably want to be aware of the reason you were successful. What led me to this success?
Well, and that's what's so fascinating about being in the business of selling something that's not a tangible per se, is that so much of the sale depends on creating a compelling story, whatever that looks like, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes that story has a shelf life of one time, or something significant changes, and so the story just doesn't remain the same. And this becomes very challenging when, again, it's not a latte, or that we've made the same way, right? Like the pumpkin spice latte is something that people look forward to with such crazy
Oh yeah.
It's not like you have to reinvent the story each time, whereas with an organization, unless they're well known, like the Red Cross or something to that effect, who are working on natural disasters, for a small organization who's just trying to run a campaign to make maybe like a large purchase of some kind, the story isn't always the same, so it's just not as compelling the second time around.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you have to, and maybe that's the whole idea of, like you were talking about, the whole idea of, in our degree alone, of that leadership aspect. And now the first time you're successful, now you have to take a different approach. You have to take a different angle on it.
Right.
You have to sell something different.
Exactly. Yeah. And for me, this time, it really is about the fact that I think it was a small private school. And I definitely think that education is important to people, but the truth of the matter is, because so many schools are in such dire need, a private school that charges tuition is having a harder time pleading their case next to a public school who serves more students.
Yeah.
And so, I use this as an example because I think, again, it's about what's going on in society as well, right? I mean, pumpkin spice lattes, when we're in a recession, are not going to do as well as when people have income.
Right. Yeah, that's not a necessity by any means.
It is for me.
I was going to say, it might be for some. It might be a necessity.
Just kidding.
You're just going to have to buy...
Priorities.
You have to buy Folgers and drink that.
That's right.
No.
You got to do it.
Call for tough measures.
Yep.
True.
Right? It's fun.
So, it's so interesting, though, and I didn't mean for this to lead into politics, but if we could just for a second look at what's going on in terms of leadership, it really is fascinating to me how the leadership's agenda, or their ability to take risk, sometimes the way that it gets funneled down to the followers, and the followers' willingness to take those same kind of risk, I think can play a huge impact on how they please the boss. And in terms of ethical, I mean, I'm just talking about, the Republicans storming the room, right? You've heard about this on the news, of them storming the investigation. I mean, never before has that ever happened, but I think it's because there's never been a leader who's been interested in not following the rules, whether they be from precedent or the law.
Yeah.
And so there's this element of pleasing the boss there that will, I think, sometimes get people to take risks that they might not otherwise. And that has to play a factor in this too.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, and if once again, if we're talking political, you sign on to this Republican Party, you sign on if you want to be a part of this train, if you want to be a part of what's happening, then you kind of have to, even as a follower, and we've seen people who've taken stances where they've disagreed with things that have been done, and They might no longer, there's people have been removed from the current Republican Party. But yeah, it's, I think though there are people that, you do have to have that pleasing, even if it is defying ethically. And as this would say here in our second prompt, efficiency. But that the idea of efficiency, I think when we read that, by the way, is if we were to think of efficiency as, or not efficiency, effective, which is efficiency, effectiveness, efficiency, kind of all in the same thing. But I think that whole idea, I think that word effective that it's actually playing on here, I think it does take a deeper meaning than what we would think of as being effective. Effective to me, what I initially think is you're effective if you're a company and you're making profits, you're not losing money, you're making money. That's effectiveness. But effectiveness goes into, once again, as we've been speaking, ethics, morality, because it's a full broad scoping thing. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's fascinating to use the political environment to study leadership. For me, it has been very fascinating, because you look at it and you think there's two people that they're trying to please. In my mind, right? Their constituents who vote them into these positions.
Yeah.
Also, the people that they ultimately have to get the laws passed, or to please because they're going to help either them get vote back in or push a bill forward that the political leader is interested in, what have you. It's fascinating to look at what it looks like from the outside, somebody needing to lead such a unusual business.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's a very clear example that we can easily research that for sure. We have a lot of, it's a very, I agree with you.
Are there any, I see it a lot in the boards that I work with, and it's probably because those positions are voted in. But I think that's such a good example of a curiosity about pleasing the boss.
Yeah.
Because who is the boss in that situation? For example, the head of school, who's, a paid person at the school, at the end of the day, they report to a board of trustees who are not paid. They're voted in volunteers.
Yeah. Yep.
But the head of school needs to please both parties, right? Their boss and the parents who are paying the tuition.
Right. Yep.
Plus the staff, right?
Yep. Many levels. All right, guys. And then we got
on time too. So
1.2C, we've got one more prompt that we were going to look back over, it looks like.
Oh yeah, Malala.
We're going to turn back to Malala after it looks like what we've said. And the risk of raising dark clouds or raining on anyone's parade, let's, for the purpose of discussion, only imagine that Malala might not be very successful at changing the world within the next few years. In other words, imagine if Malala might be deemed an unsuccessful leader by some measures. Why then should she struggle onward if she cannot win? Write truly meaningful dialogue with your commenters. Consider some different angles to the scenario and back up your answer with examples, evidence, or arguments in which you mention one or two sources. I think we all are well unprepared on that prompt with two sources to back that up. But yeah, so I guess what is saying, if she was unsuccessful, what is her motivation to continue on, right? Is that what I collected from that?
I think it's like, if Malala doesn't end up changing the world, will she be considered unsuccessful? Right?
Yeah.
Which is such a fascinating thought, because what it really begs the question is again, what is the success?
Yeah.
Right? Even if you say if she doesn't change the world, if tomorrow everything just stopped and she did nothing else, in my opinion, she still changed the world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because she got people talking and she got people started on, I think a person could decide too, if I changed one person, that's success to me, or I could have changed 1,000 people and that's still not success to me. So I think it depends on the leader to decide that for themselves too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I mean,
and the followers, right? Like the followers probably are a huge factor in determining whether or not success was had.
Yeah.
Right. Well, think of an example of because we're talking about Malala, who an example of her success would be if we deemed her successful, and she was successful, a very positive success. But you also look, there's negatives. There's in history of successes that someone would deem, but that would be maybe of negative nature. Look at Hitler and what he did, and the idea of trying to have the he was going for a whole world domination aspect, or Napoleon was somebody who did that. These world conqueror aspects of. So at one point, Napoleon had all of Europe basically, which at that point was like the center of the world. He had anything major, but at the end of the day, Napoleon never ended up being successful. But what would you do? But would you deem what he did at that point in terms of what his own personal goals, was that successful or not? So once again, kind of taking a look at this whole idea of success from not only is success always like a positive thing, but there can be negatives. There can be somebody who's still like, it doesn't go to say that someone like Napoleon or maybe even Hitler, they didn't have goals. So there's success and there's not success in reaching those.
True.
So a little bit of something to think about. But in regards to Malala and the idea of if she had an impact to the world, I think kind of if the world is on notice for something you've done, you're already making an impact in the world. And even if she wasn't able to fully achieve the things she wanted to achieve, and I'm sure she hasn't achieved all the things she wants to achieve yet.
No,
I'm sure she's not close to finished with that.
Of girls who don't go to school, right? Like
exactly, yeah. So but it's, and I do like what I think Daniela said about success can be defined by, and Dawn, you said, as the followers can help define the success, but also very importantly, like the leader themselves can kind of define the success. They're the ones who are laying the blueprint for themselves of what they're looking to achieve. So, the fact that Malala has been on this, world stage and people have taken notice in that regard, that is probably deemed a success. I mean, we're here talking about it now, right?
Absolutely.
So
yeah, true.
Yeah. Well, and look at, even young people like Greta who are working on climate crisis. I mean, you look at her and think, in my mind, she is already a successful person, same as Malala, just because of the conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, and I think that's the foot in the door in this day and age, is if you're going to get people talking, if you're stirring up that conversation, that is, that's already a step in the right direction, and in that regard is a success. A success plan, if you're like, we've probably all heard of a success plan. If you're talking about a success plan, that means that there's different levels of goals to achieve within a success plan. There's this is plan one, and then this is like this is stage 2, stage 3, and so there's these different checkpoints of success. So like achieving one thing within that whole success plan is success. Like I guess it's just how you define it. If you think success means you have to complete this whole thing to an entirety, then that's success. But once again, Malala, like we said, she's probably not close to finished with what she wants to achieve, but she has definitely achieved success as well where she's at right now. So success doesn't mean you complete your whole goal. It just means you're taking steps towards it.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's so interesting, isn't it? This whole concept of leadership and what it is you strive for. I mean, I think most people think of a good leader makes a business successful or an organizational successful, but this conversation right here proves that success is in the eye of the beholder, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's fascinating because I think that component alone is what turns this conversation on its head for most people in terms of leadership. Is that success isn't always that you're just this wealthy person who made a bunch of other people wealthy through the stock market or, you know, whatever the case may be. It has so much more to do with other things besides money.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
And proves that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, some of the most wealthy people who have had monetary success.
Yeah.
We all know are some of the most unhappy people there can be, you know. So it's that whole concept. So yeah, success is multifaceted. I'm not saying that you can't make monetary gains and be unhappy and not be successful by all means. You know, I think it's a blend. It's an absolute blend of a lot of different things. So yeah.
True. It's so true. Okay,
balance.
So is there anything else that we need to discuss? I was thinking, I'm sure you guys are tired too. So
yeah,
we planned on 5 on Thursdays.
Oh, so Thursday's Halloween. Could we, for 1 week, just move that?
Yeah, that's absolutely fine.
So glad you noticed that. My kids will be super disappointed if I'm doing
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. No, that's absolutely fine. We can move it.
Is Wednesday okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Wednesday at 5?
Yeah, just for the week.
Okay.
Yep, that works.
And then after that, we'll do Thursday. I'm going to send the recording to you of this video.
Okay.
I'm sure it's simple. I'll figure it out. But I'll send you the recording, and then and communicating with you guys via email through Canvas is totally fine, right?
That works. Are you talking about through the group, like we've been doing through the group?
Yeah,
yeah, absolutely. That works fine for me.
Okay, perfect.
So this link, are we submitting individually, or does it submit for all three of us? Do we know?
I think we have to submit individually.
Okay.
I want to say it said something in there about that, but I should double check that.
So are we uploading to YouTube first?
Oh, that's right. That's how I'm going to do it.
Yeah, because I took a class, session A, and we had to take the recording link to YouTube, upload, and then submit with a YouTube link.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll go look over those directions one more time, because then I do remember that it says something about we each have to submit something.
Okay.
Is that we have to, I think we have to do a reflection paragraph, right?
We do, yes.
That's what it is.
You'll need to do after your meeting, make sure you submit 2 things: a full paragraph and a link to the recording or the file itself as proof of your one. This can be saved onto your ASU Google My Drive if it's large, and it can be submitted with your reflection paragraph. A YouTube recording might also be allowable, but make sure you send the professor a shareable link, not requiring sign-in. So we can do this through Google Drive or YouTube. I
feel like YouTube would be a little easier. I don't know what I feel like that would be easier, because then we can all easily get a hyperlink from it. I think if you're doing Google Drive, it might be a matter of embedding the video into it, which I feel like it might be a little easier universally with you. And there shouldn't be any, and I know what they're saying for the sign-in. Typically, the sign-in on YouTube is like, if it's like parental control kind of thing, like, so they're wanting to be where you can just, like, basically when we upload the video, make it public. Make it a public video, make it that obviously there's not going to be any kind of, advisory on it. So, yeah.
Right. I'll go upload it to my YouTube channel.
Okay.
And I will send you the link to that.
Okay.
Yes. Perfect.
Do you want to send it through the groups? Like we're talking about how we've been communicating. Do you want to send that link through there?
Yep,
Okay.
I'm going to send it through that email that we've been chatting through.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right.
Yay.
Well, nice to meet you guys.
You too.
Thank you guys.
Right.
It was great conversation, and I'll definitely be more prepared next time too.
Absolutely.
Same.
All right.
Take it easy, guys. See you
All
next
right, you too. Bye.
time.
Take care.